One of them is Representative Keith Self, he's joining us right now this morning from Capitol Hill, Republican of Texas and a member of the Foreign Affairs and Veterans Affairs Committee. Congressman Self, let's begin with this continuing resolution, the stopgap measure. How will you vote on this bill?
Oh, I'm going to be voting yes on this bill. We need to get this off the plate. We need a clean CR, except for the anomalies that you've already talked about.
And why are you voting yes? What about the provisions that are in the bill?
Well, I'm voting yes because we need to take a shutdown off the table. If Schumer wants to have a shutdown, then that's up to him. My preference would be that we vote on the bill, we pass the bill today, and then we leave town until we tell the Senate that we'll see you in October because we want to pass it to them, a clean CR except for the anomalies, and move on.
If this passes today, what should happen with government funding levels in the next round of negotiations?
Well, my big concern is the COVID era temporary expanded subsidies. That will amount to $40 billion a year, with churn something like $335 billion over the next 10 years. No Republican has ever voted for an Obamacare subsidy. This is not the time to start. No Republican should ever vote to extend these temporary COVID-era subsidies. COVID's been over for years. Let's take it back to what it was planned to be. No Republican should vote for these subsidies on November the 21st.
The Democrats are saying that, and Democrats in the Senate are saying, if you want our votes, which you need, we do want some negotiations on health care. And they're calling for permanent subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. You sound like you oppose those subsidies. More than 24 million Americans got their health insurance through ACA in 2025. Of those, more than 9 in 10, 22.3 million people qualified for the enhanced subsidies, and that's 4 million in Texas, in your state. So what do you say to those Texas citizens?
Well, I tell you, there's a lot of fraud going on in that system. We now have people that don't even know they're on the system, payments with no claims. No claims. The federal government is giving money to the insurance companies. That sounds a lot like fraud to me. That's where I think we ought to attack it. We ought to find those where the claims are being paid with no claims. So there is a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse in this, and it's at the lower levels that we see this, the lower levels of being on the program. And so this has got a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse in it. We need to do what we did with Medicaid, taking it back to the people that are supposed to have it. But I will tell you, November the 21st is a tough date because it's in the middle of the enrollment period. And that's my concern, that it's in the middle of the enrollment period, so it's going to be a tough fight to keep that off the table.
In the stopgap measure that you're voting on today, there is extra money, $30 million, for beefed up security for yourself and other members of Congress. Explain why you think this money is necessary if you do.
Well, I told a reporter yesterday that I'm not sure we ought to be spending a lot of more money on security. I understand people have concerns, but I don't want this to get out of hand because I hear some numbers being thrown around that are just too large. This $30 million, I think it's a program that is reasonable, but I just need to watch this as well. Look, we're still $37 trillion in debt. If you want to add money to any program, where are you going to take money from other programs, less needed programs? In the federal government, we tend to just add money every time we add a new program. I want to see it where, if this is the greater good, what are we going to take it from? A program that is either defunct, it's dormant, whatever. So let's try to watch our spending here because $37 trillion, and it's going to continue to go up over the next 10 years.
What is the threat like to you and others on Capitol Hill? What's your personal experience, and what have you heard from your colleagues?
Well, there are a lot of people that are concerned about it. I obviously am from Texas, but we've got, look, you could be at the wrong place at the wrong time, anytime, like the young intern that was shot here in D.C. Several months ago now. That's always possible. But and then you know the dedicated sniper is really a myth of the movies. So really it depends on the location, and I think there are some members of Congress that do need more security. And I think there are those of us that live in fairly safe environments. So this is not one size fits all. And I do feel for the people who believe their safety is in danger.
Congressman, before we let you go this morning, your thoughts on the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel and FCC Brendan Carr's remarks or before the suspension happened that perhaps the licenses would be threatened?
I think we need to be very careful with free speech. It is in the First Amendment, and I want to be very careful when we start. First of all, I don't think we know the intention of anyone's heart, so hate speech to me is kind of an amorphous concept. But actions count for me, and so we need to be very careful with free speech. It is one of the foundational First Amendment rights in this country, and I agree kind of with the person that said Jimmy Kimmel is free to say whatever he wants to, just not be employed by someone. So that's the line that I think we need to look at. We need to allow people to speak freely, but employers also have rights and rules under their employment. So that's the issue. That's the area that I think we ought to be looking at.
Do you agree with the comments by the FCC chair as a government regulator to make those comments publicly about the licensing and possibly taking it away? And then President Trump on Air Force One suggesting that networks should lose their broadcast license if they criticize him. Do you disagree with those?
Yes, I do disagree with those. I think that that is an employment decision, but it is not a government decision to take someone's license away simply because they disagree with the president. Frankly, all of us in public office get disagreed with every single day, to include the president. That's part of the job. That's why we're here. We do have people that I represent people on both sides of the political spectrum, and that's just the way it is. I am expected to act on their behalf on both sides, but they're free to speak and they're free to criticize me.
Representative Keith Self, Republican of Texas. Sir, thank you for your time this morning, for joining us from Capitol Hill. We appreciate it.
Thank you.